All right, there's a debate tomorrow night. Another one of these Republican primary debates. No Trump, of course, but you got Chris Christie and Vivek and Nikki Haley and Ron DeSantis. I wonder what Sean thinks of all this. He always has the best analysis on this stuff. Joining me now, Sean Spicer, the great Sean Spicer Show, which is now at 7 p.m. new time, 7 p.m. Eastern time, Monday through Friday, right here on The First. Sean, okay, one, obviously no Trump, so the big boy's not in the room. But I don't think these debates are useless. The viewership is up on these things. 5 million people watch DeSantis take on Newsom, so that's something. What do we get out of these things?
Entertainment to some degree. I mean, to your point, Trump's not here. They're all significantly far behind in the polls, both in terms of the national ones, but most importantly in Iowa, New Hampshire, South Carolina. I think this is there's a good chance this could be the last one that we see for a while, at least the sanctioned ones. Look, as far as what you get, I think you get some entertainment, but it's not changing the field. No one's moving up or down based on it. I'm here in Tuscaloosa. I think it's an interesting dynamic. I'm glad that they're doing it. I feel like it makes sense to go through the process to preserve this. And I'll tell you why, Jesse, just real quick. I worked really hard in 2016 for the first time ever in the history of either party to wrestle away from the left-wing media the ability to control the primary debates. And if this goes back to allowing the media to dictate when our candidates debate, and trust me, they're going to come back to no conservative moderators, 25 debates, which is what it was in 2012. That's not good for our candidates. So I think maintaining and preserving the process does serve a long-term value that needs to be maintained. Because when I got over to the RNC, literally these guys, one night we debated on a Saturday and then we had another debate on a Sunday. The two most valuable things in any campaign are time and money, and debates are sucks of both.
Yeah, no, they really are. Chris Christie's out there. Obviously, he's only in the race to attack Trump. He's only been in the race to attack Trump, but here he was saying this.
How about this? He's going to go on trial the day before Super Tuesday. I believe he's going to be convicted in that January 6th trial in Washington, D.C. He's going to be convicted. Imagine this. If he's our nominee, he won't be able to vote for himself.
But he can be president.
Yes.
Okay, people can hate Chris Christie and hate that all they want. I don't care for the man one iota myself. He's not necessarily wrong about that, Sean. Donald Trump, if we are correct, or if the polls are correct, he is the nominee. He's going to be a convicted felon by the time Election Day rolls around. There's no other way around it, unjust as it may be. Where does that put us?
Well, I think you heard Neil Cavuto say it in the clip. The American people, in particular, primary voters, decided that with all the information that they have, and they know about this. I mean, he's been indicted 4 times. It's not like you literally have to be shocked not to know that. And they still have accepted Donald Trump as the person they want to be the nominee. Furthermore, when asked in the battleground states and the national polls, when it comes to a general election, they're choosing him over Joe Biden. So at the end of the day, the process is such that people are deciding with the baggage, with all the things they know, Donald Trump is still the one that they want in the party. And then as a president to lead this country forward. The people have spoken. And I think people can, Chris Christie can get upset all he wants, but Neil Cavuto's point is still the same. He can serve as president. I don't agree. I think that the process might be such that some of these will have gotten into potentially a conviction, but I guarantee you he's going to be appealing all of them. And so, look, the process will work itself out, but so will the will of the American people. And right now, the will of the American people, both in the primary process and the general, is such that they want Donald Trump to be the next president.
Yeah, well, I guess we'll see in Iowa if he is that far ahead, Sean. If the polls are to be believed, and he is really that far ahead, and Iowa comes down and Donald Trump boat races everyone else in the race, do you think that clears the field? I know the Jamie Dimons of the world have lined up behind Nikki Haley. I know Ron DeSantis has a very serious presidential campaign going. Do they all wake up if that happens in Iowa and say, hey, I'm done, it's not worth it?
You're asking the right question, because here's what this all comes down to: Iowa. In real estate, they say location, location, location. For this political cycle, It's all Iowa, Iowa, Iowa. Here's the deal. There are 40 delegates at stake in Iowa on January 15th, on that Monday. The thing that makes Iowa very unique is that when you vote in a primary, you go to your school or fire station, wherever, you cast your ballot and you walk out. In the Iowa caucuses, we're talking 2-3 hours that you publicly have to stand in a VFW, a fire station, a school, a government building, and go through an iterative process over the course of hours to announce your support for a particular candidate. So it is truly an organizational effort like no other. So just being able to say that you want Donald Trump and raise your hand in a poll or answer a poll or show up in this, it's going to be a very different thing. And I will tell you, having been in Iowa, the ground game of President Trump is leaps and bounds ahead of where it was in 2015. But Ron DeSantis should not be taken lightly in terms of the number of people that their super PAC has gotten to sign caucus commitment cards. Does that mean anything? No. But if he can get those people to show up, you're talking about a universe of about 200,000 people that will be voting in the Iowa caucuses. And I say that because these things have a history of people from behind going forward. And I think the Trump campaign, from my conversations with them, fully understands the importance of the ground game in Iowa, and they're ready for it. But they understand everything's at stake. If DeSantis can score a victory there, this race goes on. But if Trump pulls out a strong win in Iowa, he will then roll through New Hampshire, Nevada, and South Carolina, and it's over. But Iowa is the key to everything right now.
Sean, how does that look if DeSantis does pull it off? Because I've heard the exact same things you've heard, that DeSantis' ground game is second to none, that he might shock some people. If he does, does the campaign limp on? Does that launch him up to be a neck and neck with Donald Trump? What do we think? An Iowa win is a must for him, but what does it do? Does it keep him on life support, or does it put him in even? Does he draw even with Trump in the primary?
So that's the $1 million question. I'll flip it first. If he loses in Iowa by more than 10 points, he's over. Game out. He's out. I think Nikki Haley will try to stick around. If he can score a victory, I think that changes the dynamic. The donors then line up behind him. You've heard the media narrative in the past week and a half. Nikki Haley, Nikki Haley, Nikki Haley. If DeSantis can pull out a win or a close second, and I mean a really close second in Iowa, I think the donors and the media then switch back over to DeSantis. And then I think the question is, will he be a one-trick wonder, or can he pull something out in New Hampshire or South Carolina? South Carolina is going to be a lot bigger of a challenge because Nikki Haley is the favorite daughter there. But I think what I will say is that it's going to change the dynamic, meaning that's when things are going to get mixed up real quick. Does Trump shuffle the deck and try to maybe get rid of some folks that he had? But you think about the last three winners: Ted Cruz, Mike Huckabee, Rick Santorum. Those folks were not doing particularly well early on, but they also weren't facing a guy like Donald Trump, who had been a two-time nominee, who had such an insurmountable lead. So it's one thing to go from 4% to 20%, which is what a lot of those guys did.
Yeah.